Hello, my name is Miss Jones and I teach elementary school math. Welcome to my channel, Miss Math Jones. Today we're going to be working on our third grade Eureka Module 5, Lesson 25 homework. The objective for our homework is to express whole numbers as fractions and recognize equivalents with different units. So we're going to be basically writing whole numbers in fraction form and recognizing or understanding that they can be equal even if they're in different units. Let's get started. Number 1 says complete the number bonds as indicated by the fractional unit, partition the number line into the given fractional unit, and label the fractions. Rename 0 and 1 as fractions of the given unit. So first we have fifths, and I see a number bond there. The number 1 is in the middle, and we have to fill in the number bond circles. Now, what fractional unit would need to go in there? Meaning, what unit fraction needs to go in each circle? Remember, unit fractions have a 1 in the numerator, the top number. Now, if you said 1/5, then you're absolutely correct because 5/5 makes 1 whole. So let's put 1/5 in each of those circles. 1/5, that's another fifth, that's 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. Now notice I made sure to place the unit fraction of 1/5 in each circle. Again, 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 is 5/5, and that equals 1 whole. Now I need to label this number line here, and it's already partitioned into fifths for me. So all that we have to do is label our number line, and we always start with the first endpoint. On this number line, it's 0. So what fifth is the same as 0? That's right, 0/5. Now let's continue on to label our number line. Our first line should have the fraction 1/5. The second line should be 2/5. The third line should be 3/5. The fourth line should be 4/5. And the fifth line should be 5/5. Now, if you need to pause your video to make sure that you have everything on your paper that I have on my screen, go ahead and do so now. Moving on to sixths. So we have the number 1 here in our number bond. We need to complete it. Now, instead of completing it with unit fractions, we're just going to complete it with 2 fractions that are in the fractional unit of sixths that would equal 1 whole. Okay, so what 2 fractions can we put here? Or how many sixths plus how many sixths equals 1 whole? All right, so the 2 fractions that I decided to use were 2/6 plus 4/6, because 2/6 plus 4/6 is 1 whole. Also, I forget to mention that you need to circle 5/5 because 5/5 is equal to 1 whole. You're going to need this for one of your questions in the homework because one question is going to ask you to circle all of the fractions that are equal to 1 whole. So once we get to 1 whole for each one of these number lines that we're doing, and you need to go ahead and circle the fraction that's the same as 1. All right, now we're going to partition our number line into 6, and to do that we need 7 lines. Ha, gotcha. We need 6 lines because we're partitioning into 6. I know somebody was like 7 lines for 6. What? No, we need 6 lines. Okay, so let's go ahead and partition this number line into 6, and let's go ahead and draw our 6 lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, now we have our 6 lines now, and it's partitioned into 6. Now let's go ahead and label our 6. So we always start with 1 endpoint, and the endpoint is 0. So 0/6, then 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, 6/6. And we're going to go ahead and circle that because 6/6 is equal to 1. Remember, we're circling all of our fractional units that are the same as 1 because we're going to need that for another question a little later on in our homework. Right now, if you need to pause your video to make sure that your paper looks like my screen, go ahead and do so now. Moving on to our next fractional unit, which is sevenths. So we need to complete this number bond of sevenths. What 2 sevenths can you add together to equal 1 whole? Now you can choose any 2 sevenths you like as long as it equals 7 sevenths, right? But the 2 that I chose was 4 sevenths and 3 sevenths because 4 sevenths and 3 sevenths is 7 sevenths or 1 whole. Now, we need to partition this number line into sevenths, so we need 7 lines because it's sevenths. So let's go ahead and partition this number line into sevenths. So we have 1 seventh, 2 sevenths, 3 sevenths, 4 sevenths, 5 sevenths, 6 sevenths, 7 sevenths. So that's 7 lines, right? And notice I was counting out the sevenths as I was writing my lines, which you can do that also. And let's go ahead and label our sevenths. So we start at 0 sevenths here. And we just count up and label as we go. 1 seventh, 2 sevenths, 3 sevenths, 4 sevenths, 5 sevenths, 6 sevenths, 7 sevenths. All right, and we're going to circle 7 sevenths because 7 sevenths is equal to 1. Now, if you need to pause the video to make sure that you have everything written on your paper, go ahead and do so now. Now we're moving on to our next fractional unit of eighths. How many eighths plus how many eighths equals 1 whole? Now, you can choose any 2 eighths that you want as long as they equal to 8 eighths. But as for me, I chose 4 eighths plus 4 eighths. And I know that 4 eighths plus 4 eighths equals 8 eighths, which equals 1 whole. All right, now let's go ahead and partition our number line into eighths. So since I'm partitioning into eighths, I need 8 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to go ahead and label those eighths. So starting with 0 eighths and counting up and labeling as I go. 1 eighth, 2 eighths, 3 eighths, 4 eighths, 5 eighths, 6 eighths, 7 eighths, 8 eighths. And I'm going to circle 8 eighths because 8 eighths is equal to 1. Now, if you need to pause your video to make sure that everything on my screen is on your page, go ahead and do so now. Now, remember, I wanted you to circle all of the fractions that equal 1 because you were going to need it for another question. Here's that question. All right, so number 2 says circle all the fractions in problem 1 that are equal to 1. And if you circle them when I told you to, you don't have to go back and do it now because it's already done. Now it says write them in a number sentence below. Okay, so 5/5 is already there, so we don't have to write that one. But the next one would be 6/6, then 7/7, then 8/8. 5/5 is equal to 6/6. 6/6 is equal to 7/7, and 7/7 is equal to 8/8. They're all equal to each other because they all equal 1. So this is the same thing as writing 1 equals 1 equals 1 equals 1. They're all equal to 1. Now, if you need to pause your video to make sure that you have that written down correctly, go ahead and do so now. Let's take a look at number 3. Number 3 says, what pattern do you notice in the fractions that are equivalent or equal to 1? Following this pattern, how would you represent 9/9 as one whole? So I wrote this explanation, and your explanation should look something like this. The top number and the bottom number are the exact same. Also, the top number divided by the bottom number is equal to 1. So 9/9 is equal to 1 whole. Now, if you need to pause your video to write this explanation down, go ahead and do so now. Number 4 says, in art class, Mr. Jocelyn gave everyone a 1-foot stick to measure and cut. Everyone got a 1-foot stick. Everybody. Okay. Vivian measured and cut her stick into 5 equal pieces. Scott measured and cut his stick into 7 equal pieces. Scott said to Vivian, the total length of my stick is longer than yours because I have 7 pieces and you only have 5. Is Scott correct? Use pictures or a number line to help you explain. All right. You know, anytime we compare fractions, I love a good rectangle. Okay. So draw a nice chunky rectangle, big one, right? And we're going to partition it in half horizontally, straight across the middle. Now, the top is going to be in fifths because we're comparing fifths to sevenths. So top is going to be in fifths, bottom is going to be in sevenths, and we're going to label both. All right, so let's see. We need 5 lines. So that's the first one, second line, third line, fourth line, and the fifth line is right there on the end. Now I'm going to label my fifths. So the very first line, right there at the edge of our rectangle, because we can turn a fraction strip into a rectangle. It's very, very easy. You just need 2 endpoints. Okay, so we're going to make the very end of our rectangle 0/5 at the top, right? Because that line would be 0. And then we continue to label. So we have 1/5 at the first line, 2/5 at the second line, 3/5 at the third line, 4/5 at the fourth line, and 5/5 at the very end. Okay, so our endpoints are 0 and 1, or 0/5 and 5/5. Now, even though it's partitioned into fifths, the first sentence says, Mr. Jocelyn gave everyone a 1-foot stick to measure and cut. So even though this stick, aka fraction line, aka number line, is cut into 5 pieces, it still equals 1 foot. So I'm just going to write equals 1 foot there. All right. Now, at the bottom, we're going to partition it into sevenths. So let's go ahead and partition the bottom of our rectangle into sevenths. So put one there, one about right there. It's good. Okay. And the third line is going to go about right here. Fourth line is about there. Fifth line is going to go there. Sixth line, yeah, right there is good. And the 7th line is right there on the end. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to label my sevenths. On the very end, directly below where 0/5 is labeled, all the way at the bottom, we're going to label it 0/7. Okay, because that will be where 0 is. That's where the rectangle starts. The starting point is 0. Okay. Now we're going to label each line in the fractional unit of sevenths. So first line would be 1/7. Second line is 2/7. Third line is 3/7. Our fourth line is 4/7. Our fifth line is 5/7. Our sixth line is 6/7. And our 7th line is 7/7, or 1 whole. So we have 0 at the beginning, 0/7 at the beginning, that's 0. and 1 at the end, which is 7/7, because it's equal to 1. Now, even though this fraction strip, aka number line, is cut into 7 pieces, it's still equal to 1 foot because Mr. Johnson gave everyone a 1 foot stick to measure and cut. Doesn't matter how many pieces it's cut into, it's still 1 foot. We didn't lose any feed. Okay. All right. So the question says, is Scott correct? Scott said to Vivian, the total length of my stick is longer than yours because I have 7 pieces and you only have 5. So is Scott correct? Is his stick longer than Vivian's? No, Scott is incorrect. They both have a 1 foot stick. Doesn't matter how many pieces each person have. They each still have the same length stick. So he's wrong, obviously. Now, if you need to pause your video to make sure that the information on my screen is on your paper, go ahead and do so now. Congratulations! Lesson 25 homework is now complete. As always, I hope this video has helped you to complete your homework correctly and helped you to understand Lesson 25 a little bit better. I also hope you're having a great day or night whenever you're watching this video. And as always, when doing math, make sure to check your work just to be sure that your math is mathing. This is Miss Jones saying bye until next time.